by hypovolemia, 75% blood loss. That's over 4 liters of blood.
Could say the man was running on empty.
These X-files indicate this is a UFO-related phenomena. Often there are sightings in the sky near the incident, surface burns.
Witnesses often report time loss. We've seen this in abduction cases. That might explain why the girl can't remember anything.
Mulder, why would alien beings travel light years to Earth in order to play doctor on cattle?
For the same reason, we cut up frogs and monkeys. Besides, they seem to have stepped up their interest.
Oh, forgot what it was like to spend a day in court.
Now, that's one of the luxuries to hunting down aliens and genetic mutants. You barely get to press charges.
It's open.
What?
It's unlocked.
That's weird. I'm sure I locked it.
Must be an X-file. What's that?
I told you I locked the door.
What do you think it is?
10 to 1 you can't dance to it.
Greetings, Agent Mulder. 6 months ago, British Minister of Parliament Reggie Ellicott received an audio cassette, much like the one you're listening to now. Unfortunately for Minister Ellicott, when he popped the tape into the car stereo, he armed a device, which when he tried to exit the car, created an explosion which was heard 5 miles away. The Scotland Yard forensic team could only identify the poor bastard by his dental records. If only he hadn't reached for the door handle and triggered the detonator. But then how was he to know he was sitting on enough plastic explosive to lift the car 40 feet in the air and deposit the engine block on top of a 3-story building?
Aren't we looking rather ghostly?
It's an old friend.
Aren't you going to thank me?
For what?
Saving your life. One tends not to make the same mistake twice.
I'll try to remember that.
Oh, come on, don't tell me you left your sense of humor in Oxford 10 years ago.
No, actually. It's one of the few things you didn't drive a stake through.
You know, some mistakes are quite worth making twice.
Dana Scully, this is Phoebe Green, terror of Scotland Yard.
Hello.
Hello.
She hates me.
What brings you to the colonies?
Last time you were that engrossed, it turned out you were reading the adult video news.
I didn't think you'd be in today. How are you, Dana?
Dana. I'm fine, thank you. What are you working on? I was considering Boggs. If he knew that I was your partner, he could have found out everything he knew about me. About my father.
Scully.
Beyond the Sea was playing at my parents' wedding. Visions of deceased loved ones are a common psychological phenomena. If he knew that my father had...
Dana, after all you've seen, after all the evidence, why can't you believe?
I'm afraid. I'm afraid to believe.
You couldn't face that fear? Even if it meant never knowing what your father wanted to tell you?
But I do know.
How?
He was my father. Well, there's still a question as to whether humans can produce pheromones. So how can that be?
I don't know. But if it's true, this guy's a walking aphrodisiac. He's the ultimate sex magnet.
He or she? You've got victims of both sexes. both a man and a woman on the hotel security monitor.
I know. That is a puzzle.
So what is our profile of the killer? Indeterminate height, weight, sex, unarmed, but extremely attractive.
It gets weird.
I don't understand. How can they just disappear? They have no means of transportation.
No earthly means of transportation.
I don't discount the near-death experience because it can be explained empirically by stimulation of the temporal lobe.
Sense a big butt coming.
Well, it's still my best guess that Jack's disappearance could be explained in psychological, not supernatural terms.
For instance?
The stress of the case, the trauma of being shot, Jack's personality.
How well do you know him?
We dated for almost a year. He was my instructor at the academy.
The plot thickens.
I still don't get it. What does this have to do with us?
Robbing a jewelry store is a federal crime.
Thank you.
I don't know. I got a call from some guy I used to work with over the violent crime section. Said it was important. Reggie.
Oh, I hate it when you do that.
This is Special Agent Scully, Reggie Purdue.
How are you?
So what happened here?
Lone gunman took out a sales girl after she filled up a bag for you.
You don't just reverse aging.
He at least found a way.
Listen to what you're saying.
He wanted human research subjects, right? Prisoners. Prisoners like John Barnett.
Mulder, it's science fiction.
Well, what would you have said 20 years ago about gene splicing, DNA fingerprinting, cloning, artificial intelligence? Maybe we're not looking for a man in his late 40s after all. Maybe John Barnett has found the perfect disguise. Youth.
From the trucker's description, the shape he fired upon could conceivably have been a mountain lion's.
Conceivably.
The National Weather Service last night reported atmospheric conditions in this area, which were possibly conducive to lightning.
Possibly.
It is feasible that the truck was struck by lightning, creating the electrical failure.
It's feasible.
And you know there's a marsh over there. Those lights the driver saw may have been swamp gas.
Swamp gas?
It's a natural phenomenon in which phosphine and methane rising from decaying organic matter ignite, creating globes of blue flame.
Happens to me when I eat Dodger dogs. How can a dozen witnesses, including a squad of police vehicles in 3 counties, become hysterical over swamp gas? I've investigated multiple sightings before. Chesapeake Bay, the Okoboji Lakes, Area 51 in Nevada. None had this much supporting evidence. Anecdotal data, exhaust residue, radiation levels 5 times the norm.
Mulder, none of that evidence is conclusive.
The only question for me is, why was the truck driver singled out?
Isn't it more plausible that an exhausted truck driver became swept up in the hysteria and fired upon hallucinations? I mean, after all, the road can play tricks on you.
Yeah, it can play tricks on you. Not like this. I started these stopwatches at the same time.
Those are the most paranoid people I have ever met. I don't know how you could think that what they say is even remotely plausible.
I think it's remotely plausible that someone might think you're hot.
Did you see the way they answered the telephone? They probably think that every call they get is monitored and they're followed everywhere they go. It's a form of self-delusion. It makes them think that what they're doing is important enough that somebody would...
What's the matter? think I saw some of these same people at Woodstock.
Maybe you were at Woodstock.
I saw the movie.
Some days will probably never be the same again in these parts.
I have a strong sense the Reverend Hartley's not going to be able to give up the pulpit.
Even without his son?
Might even strengthen his faith. Remember, the boy did rise from the dead. That kind of thing happens only once or twice every 2,000 years or so.
Yeah, and I have a story about a plague of locusts. I just hope Reverend Hartley didn't arrange this body snatching as his miracle of miracles.
Somehow I don't think so.
What exactly do you think?
I think people are looking hard for miracles. So hard that maybe they make themselves see what they want to see.
Victim was shot there. About 3 meters from where Parker fired. There's no way he could have mistaken a person for an animal. It's open and shut, Mulder. You know, I'm surprised you volunteered for this assignment. Any Bureau agent could have investigated this reservation homicide. Why are you interested? Well, there seems to be nothing unexplainable about this case.
Nope. Not a thing.